Okay, so here we are with the setup. Now this time the antenna is on the outside of the window, but almost exactly in the same place that it was before. And we have that 3-foot cable just going to this window adapter that comes in here, and that goes directly in. All right, so here, if I wanted to get just 3 data points to show you of what does this Waveform QuadMini actually do for your speed and performance. Hey everyone, this is Nate, and this is the Nader Tater channel. All right, I have a brand new product here from Waveform. This is a 4x4 cellular antenna, 5G capable antenna that will help your T-Mobile home internet, your Verizon home internet, your AT&T home internet, or if you have your own personal router, cellular router, this can help with that as well. So this video is going to cover the performance that it delivers, and specifically I'm going to test it on this T-Mobile gateway here, and I'll go through a little bit of what options it has with it and what's the key things for you to know about. But if you want a full unboxing video, see below for a link on that, as well as look for other videos. A lot of these gateways, you have to take them apart a little bit and install these little pigtails that Waveform includes. They have a little U.FL connector that snaps on the board. I have videos of a lot of these different gateways, how you take them apart so you can do that. But this one here is the T-Mobile. This one's the G4AR. It looks identical to the G4SE, but the key thing on it is that it has external antenna ports on the back side already. So this one's the easiest one to hook up because the connectors that Waveform has go directly into there, and all you have to do is line up the order with them correctly. So now on my specific gateway, I actually have 4 90-degree bend adapters just to get the antenna points to point out the back instead of down the bottom. Now this cable here is actually flexible, that you can pretty easily bend it, so it doesn't actually have that big of a problem actually making those types of bends. But some of the cables, other cables, are more rigid, so that's why I like to have those adapters. I'll put links to those down in the video description as well. But let's talk about this guy. So this guy is right now, I have it on the desktop stand. So this is if you wanted to use it indoors. So you can obviously set it up just on a desktop. You can put it on a window ledge, whatever you want. And then you hook these up to the back of it. Again, this has a 3-foot cable length that comes standard, but you can get 10-foot, 20-foot cable lengths in a kit that allow you to hook this up and then run cable further away, which is probably what you want to do. Alright, so if we look at some of the other mounting options, they include the suction cups. I can vouch that they're actually very strong at suctioning off. In fact, I have a tool I had to use to get them off, so I just used a, this is like actually a drywall repair, like a putty knife scraper. And I just use that till I can get back behind it and pop that seal off. So if, just know if you are sticking all 4 of these suction cups on a window, you might have to actually use something like that to get it off. Now they have screws, fasteners, and anchors that you can put in the drywall and masonry, something like that. They include some extra zip ties and cable ties with it. They include the U.FL connectors I talked about earlier that allow you to hook the cables up to the gateway that you have to hook up to the board directly. That's only if it does not have the external SMA connector ports. And then this one here, this screws on, instead of the desktop stand, you screw this plastic stand on, and then you get these 4 zip ties. These are for going onto a pole. So you can either get their pole, which is right here. Now this is not assembled obviously, but you can see here that this pole mount is kind of a industry standard for any type of outdoor antennas. You mount this to a wall, to an eave, to the roof even, and then this gives you some adjustment. And then this guy just goes up right against here, and you put the zip ties around it and secure it at whatever angle you want it at. Alright, and so what this is designed to do is to get you from inside the house to outside the house, because that sometimes is one of the hurdles that people don't want to go through, is routing the cable from inside to outside, either because maybe they're renting the house or they just simply don't feel comfortable going through the wall, or they don't have an easy place they can go through it and get the cable through. This bypasses all that, because this allows you to basically have if you have a double hung window, you open it up, you put this down on the sill, and then the window can close right back on top of it because it's so thin that it just depresses the sill a little bit and it still lasts. But this will work on a sliding window if you put it on the side, not the sliding surface, a casement window, that kind of stuff. And it comes with double-sided sticky tape that you can use to put it on there, or you can pop these little plastic covers off actually pretty easily. I can even do it with my fingernails here. And then you can see there's 2 holes in there to put one of their screws through, so you can screw it into surface, as well as actually take this piece out here, and then you can actually rotate it. So for me, I do actually want to rotate this, so it has little locating pins, but I can actually turn this 90 degrees, for example, and have it come out one of the sides without much of a problem like that, and put it back together, and now I have a cable that routes out and then routes up or routes down based off how you want your cabling to go. So some adjustability there that you can set up with this. Pretty easy, pretty nice little package here that they have going. Alright, and then they also do include the manual, and one of the big things with Waveform is you're not just getting the product, right? You're getting the customer service and the support, and that's something that some people don't actually appear to use, because they'll reach out to me for, hey, I'm having trouble aiming this. Waveform is there, and they have really the most experts there are as far as how you get the best out of them. I certainly do a lot of testing myself, but even if you just read the instruction manual, which is all in color, it goes through step by step. It gives you the key people's contact information to reach out to them. Okay, and the book even has a log place for you to go in and log. They really advertise for you to go to all sides of your house and place this antenna and do the testing with an extension cord out to the gateway, so you can get the most accurate stuff. That is the best way, but oftentimes with me, I've researched my house good enough. I know where the antenna's at. I kind of have a good idea of where's the best place to go, so mine's a little bit able to do some fine-tuning. But here they show you the actual routing for the cable to get through the window. They tell you the mounting process for all the different mounts they have offered here. And then they also talk about grounding and how important it is to ground your antenna if it's outdoors. So that's something to certainly follow. Alright, so I'm going to go do some testing now. There are lots of different ways I can test this. You can say, hey, I want you to test the gateway and the antenna in the same spot. I want you to put it 30 feet away. I want it to be upstairs, downstairs, attic, upside down, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to pick a few ones I think is going to hit for most people. But if I don't do something that you really want to see tested, please let me know. Put in the comments down below. Now, I certainly can't go out and test every single one that people ask for, but I can try to either answer it with my own thoughts, or actually do a future test where I cover some different comparisons as well. Alright, so here we are on a first floor office, and for this test I'm going to have everything as close as possible and just try the stock internal antenna, the external waveform on the inside of the window, and then we'll go through the window using the little adapter right over here in the corner of this window to get it outside, and then we'll put that same antenna on the outside of the window just to show you the difference. And I'll add some cabling to this as well so that we have a little bit of idea of the cabling. Now, if we look at the bars on there, which I tell you over and over again don't really matter, it tells you with the internal antenna right now it's on good. And if we go over here and we switch to the external antenna, it'll say okay, connecting. Alright, and it's going to show still good, so no change in the bars. Now granted, we're not very different there in location. Alright, so let me show you on this window here how this works. Now this is a casement window, so that means that it swings out here, and you can just see that that is able to sneak in there. You can see it's already been in there, and there's no cuts or creases or anything on it. Alright, so you just take it and you can press it on the outside there to hold it with either the included tape or your own tape or other securement. And then you can just see here for this casement window, I just let it slide closed, and it is thin enough that it can just close without a problem. And then I can go and I can lock it down, and it locks in place. And I'm sure it obviously compressed that seal. You probably feel a little bit of air, something in there, but then I can press this guy down, and it's stuck in there. And the nice thing about these thin cables here, they do allow it to not be stressed on that connection at all, that sticky tape connection. So this gives you a lot of flexibility of routing it or hiding it. Okay, so here we are with the setup. Now this time the antenna is on the outside of the window, but almost exactly in the same place that it was before. And we have that 3-foot cable just going to this window adapter that comes in here, and that goes directly in to the gateway. Now you can see them in cable 1, 2, 3, 4, just straight across there, not crisscrossing at all, just straight in numerical order. So let's compare here the external antenna. Might as well go ahead and retest the internal as well, just to check.
All right, so here are the speed test results. Now I have hidden on purpose the antenna and location so we can focus on other information before you jump to conclusions. What I'll say here is I have band 1 and its signal metrics, as well as band 2 and its signal metrics. So that's basically 4G LTE and 5G. And you can see my 5G was always N41. My 4G was mostly B2, but sometimes it did switch over to B66. So another point here is I use Excel's conditional formatting, where I color coded the cells to highlight differences, but do not take green as being like great or excellent and yellow or red as being bad. That is not the case. In fact, I would say most of the time, some of these metrics are either always poor, like the 4G signal to noise ratio is never really great. The highest I get is about 8. Really, you want above 20 or so. So don't take that 8.3 being dark green as being excellent. It just means that one's higher than the 3 is. And same thing with the download speed. So I have downloads and upload listed here. This is 165 megabits per second download, which is my slowest performance. And then my fastest with 366. This is all with the G4AR gateway, but sometimes with internal antennas, sometimes with the omnidirectional internal antenna, sometimes with the directional internal antenna, and then sometimes with the external antenna in different locations. So that's what we'll go through next. The last 3 columns are the ping or the latency, where you have a idle latency, and then you have it while it's doing download and while it's having to do an upload. All right, and a quick note on this one is this is actually 10 tests, even though it's listed to 11 because I don't know how to count. But these are the top 10 that I picked. I did dozens and dozens of tests out there, but I wanted to consolidate them and get the ones that I thought represented the test and also to help tell the story in a clear, concise manner. So this is a subset of all the tests that I did, and I'll go through kind of what they each mean. All right, so here, if I wanted to get just 3 data points to show you of what does this Waveform QuadMini actually do for your speed and performance, the first note is it's going to vary based off your exact setup and your location. But for me, this is how I explain it probably the best. And this is all done on the 3rd floor, so this is my best signal that I can get at my house. I know where I get the best signal. It's always up there on the 3rd floor. And with just the stock G4AR, and it was on the omnidirectional and directional antenna, so it has 2 antenna arrays inside, and if it picks up that it can get better with directional antenna, it will do that, and in this case it did, and that was giving me 165 down and 6.8 up. So not terrible, certainly very usable speed with that stock gateway. But if I added the QuadMini to it and put just the QuadMini directly on the window right beside the gateway, so I mean, within 3 feet of the gateway itself, my speeds jumped up to 223 down, but my upload did not improve. In fact, I guess you could say it was less. It's probably within the noise factor in there, so call it the same or a little bit less on the upload speed with that QuadMini, but a significant improvement on the download speed. So this goes to show you that, hey, you know what? You might get a little bit of improvement if you throw the antenna on right beside the gateway, but really what you need to do is put the gateway outside. That's the best thing to do. So if I bring that gateway outside, I have to add the window adapter or the window pass through, and then I also have to add 10 feet of cabling to get the antenna up on the antenna tower that I have in my house, and that got my speeds up to 292 megabits per second for down and 18 up. So the key thing there that I improved in my upload speed, obviously the download improved as well, but what really shows off as a big difference there is the upload speed drastically improved, and that's something I've seen time and time again with all of my antennas. If I can get them outside and up high for my specific place, my upload can drastically improve. Now, some people might say, well, Nate, I get, 600 down and 50 up without an antenna. What should I do? Well, you have better signal than I do. So even though I'm only a mile away, I don't often get crazy speeds. This is very typical for me, and a antenna will still help you in your situation, but I could definitely see a point of diminishing returns where once you start talking about getting hundreds of megabits per second down and dozens up, my personal opinion is you're not going to notice a huge difference at home per se. All right, so if I look at all of the data all plotted together here, this is basically the range of performance that you can see. If I break it down to something a little bit more digestible here, we can look at the yellow shaded area as the stock G4AR. Sometimes that was omnidirectional, sometimes that was the internal directional. That was up to it to pick. All right, so if I look at the blue shaded region, this is the G4AR direct to the QuadMini. So this means that it did not have like any of the 10-foot extension cables or the window cable or whatnot. It was always direct to it. And then the last one, the green one, was with the window adapter as well as the 10-foot cable to the QuadMini. And so, the thing to note there is I was trying to show what happens. You do actually give up some signal quality and signal loss when you add cabling. Adding cabling, adding the window adapter, all that actually hurts your signal. And but if you place the antenna in a much better location, then it can be a net gain. So that's what I wanted to show here. And it's very clear. You can see the general trend. Certainly the stock G4AR performed worse than adding the QuadMini, and that also was worse than adding the QuadMini with the window and the outdoor setup. So let's go into a little bit more details what this means and where each of these go and why they're so different in these different places. All right, so let's look at some of these test results. So the first one was the internal antenna, and it was on the omni and directional setup, and that was on the third floor loft. So that's where I typically keep my G4AR and my other cellular routers. They all go into my home Amada TP-Link setup. And you can see that's the performance I got. Now, the next thing I did was I put the QuadMini directly beside the stock gateway and I plugged it in, and just to see apples to apples, what's the difference. And if you look at these metrics, nothing crazy stands out. I did get a little bit better RSRQ because the signal to noise got slightly better, but it doesn't look crazy different there. And then on the 5G side, also pretty much a tie, the same quality. All right, and then if I look at the download improvement, it is actually fairly significant. I think that's like a 25% improvement, but the upload was effectively the same or a little bit worse with the Waveform QuadMini. And then the ping, really, I can't say that's drastically different from a test-to-test variation standpoint, so I can't say that it improved ping in this case. If I switch back to the internal antenna, but I went down to the first floor, this one you can see that my signal got worse from a strength standpoint. The signal to noise actually got a little bit better though than upstairs. And then my signal on the 5G certainly got a lot weaker and worse noise quality, but that still netted me a improvement in download speed at least compared to the stock gateway on the third floor, but my upload did get cut in half. And you can see my pings, I guess you could say maybe they got slightly worse in general being on that first floor. Now, if I did the same test though, where I took the QuadMini and just 3 foot away, stuck it on a window, left the gateway where it was at, my signal actually did improve a little bit here on the 4G side in really all the metrics. And on the 5G side, it was effectively the exact same. So no change there on 5G, but a little bit, I guess you could call it a change on the 4G side. So we look at my speeds. My speeds were basically the same on the download, but I did actually recover or actually surpass my upload. So in this case, I could say I certainly saw a difference there with the upload, and then I certainly can claim a improvement in the unloaded ping and the upload ping. But there on my download ping really did not improve. In fact, it got a little bit worse there compared to the previous run. So this shows like, okay, yep, it looks like it's better than the stock antennas, but in some of the metrics, it wasn't a drastic change. But now if I bring that same antenna and just stick it on the outside of the window, but same height, basically just moving it from one side of the glass to the other side of the glass. In this case is very interesting because my signal strength actually got worse on the same band supposedly, and my signal noise got a little bit better outside. But then if you look at the 5G, it shows, yep, a little bit improvement, but nothing crazy. But it still actually improved my download speed, but my upload now actually went back down to one of the worst I had tested there yet. All right, so then I took the Waveform QuadMini, I left it connected, but I added a 10-foot extension and I put it on the second floor window. So I basically just took that 10-foot extension and went 10-foot vertical on the outside of my house. And we can see that my 4G metrics actually got worse in pretty much everything. And my 5G actually got a good bit better in both the RSRP and signal to noise. So that netted me a good improvement in download speed versus the previous run, and it also did help my upload somewhat, as well as my loaded pings there. So that was just taking my QuadMini from first floor to second floor, always outside. All right, so if I look at this row 7 here, which has the internal stock gateway, but it's using both the omni and the directional antenna according to the little screen on there, you can see I actually did not get a improvement versus like row 3, which is same location, but with it saying that it's on the omnidirectional antenna array. All right, and so then in this one, I actually had everything in the same physical location, but I just switched back on the gateway to go back to the external antennas, and that's what this second floor OW. The OW means outside window, so outside pane of the window. And the key thing here is I did switch to B66, which is just a different band that I have available to me. And so it's a little bit of taking a grain of salt with these metrics because obviously it's a one that had not been tested before. So if we look at there are the speeds, those were by far my fastest speed at 366 megabits per second down, but my upload was a bit lackluster there at 3. So clearly to me, I'm like, hey, I really need to improve my upload speeds because I got YouTube videos to put up there. I got fans that are waiting for stuff. All right, so row 9 is the omnidirectional internal antenna for the gateway. And so if you look at the previous run, I was hooked up to the QuadMini with it outside on the second floor window. And so I said, okay, let me just re-baseline my stock G4AR, especially on B66 band. So I had some apples to apples comparison. And if you look at it, the QuadMini, I think, beat it out in most of the metrics, other than the signal to noise on 4G was actually slightly worse on the QuadMini. And then on the 5G side, it was better all around. And then on the download side, again, it was better pretty much all around compared to just the stock internal omnidirectional antenna. So including the ping was better with the Waveform QuadMini and a 10-foot cable and it being through the window adapter and outside. Now the last one was, at least on this chart from the order I put them in, was the QuadMini and window adapter and 10-foot cable hooked up to G4AR on the third floor. All right, so that gave me one of the best performances out there for the 4G performance, especially the signal metrics that they provide, as well as the 5G signal metrics. And then if you look at my download speeds, they were very good. They were not the highest by any means, but they were a good performer. And the upload was certainly a good performance. It was by far my best one by getting the antenna outside, getting it better, not full line of sight, but better or closer to line of sight, less obstructions between it and the tower. All right, but it is worth mentioning here that the idle ping did get a significant improvement there. So that clearly tells me that getting that antenna outside and up high where it has the clearest view of the tower is a big improvement for that. Now, the loaded ping did not really improve all that great. It did get better than some of the previous runs, but there were other runs that were better than it. And I have to chuck that up to the actual gateways themselves. I have not been impressed with them from a buffer bloat standpoint or being able to handle the multitasking of downloading and doing other tests during the same time. So I think you can improve that with your own router setup that you have separate from that. I have videos on that. I won't get into that today.